Yo, what it is, what it ain't, YouTube. This your boy MJ Talented coming at you with another banger reaction video, aka MJT. Now, man, yes sir, man, it's been a couple days since I reacted to some videos, so let's see what we can react to. We finna react to the We finna react to the dark side of basketball. Now, if you don't know, man, basketball YouTubers, bruh, some of them was like big stars when they was kids, hooping, like Julian Newman, Kyrie Walker, Chase Adams, all them young players, bruh. Now it kind of like fell off a little bit when it comes to basketball stardom on YouTube, but it is what it is. I think Julian Newman, I feel like he's still, you know, making his name relevant in the basketball community on YouTube. He was just in the creative league and everything. So, but yeah, man, we finna react to this video, man. Shout out to Swiss County, man. Shout out to him. Let's get into it. All right, let's get started.
What if I told you that at 16 years old, the world could be yours? Everyone knows your name and recognizes you for what you do best, and the guarantee of money, women, status, and whatever else you can dream of is the next stop on your roadmap. For these players, this was a living reality. High school mixtapes garnering tens of millions of views, fame amongst your peers, and public recognition acknowledging your success for the game you poured your heart and soul into. Sounds too good to be true, right?
When you go to that next level?
Well, in some cases, for one reason or another, that it truly
Man, he disappointed me so bad, bro.
Today we're gonna relive the thrill ride of those who have made it to the top, only for what looks like a guaranteed ticket into the NBA that never came to reality. And in the case of Tony Farmer, the reason behind his freefall was darker than you could have ever imagined. Tony Farmer was at one point soaring to the top of the high school class, standing at 6'7" with a grown man's physicality and athleticism, a decent jump shot, and a pre-polished skill set for an oversized small forward. The attraction to his game was clear. A player with the skill set as polished as his, with a frame that was that developed, had all the makings of, at the minimum, a college star. But in an instant, his college scouting, NBA dreams, and freedom would be stripped away from him. 2 years prior to the Ray Rice instance that eternally smudged his legacy and instantly costed him his job, Tony Farmer would fall to the same fate after video evidence emerged of him striking his ex-girlfriend. As the police report released, the man who was being scouted by Big Ten schools was outside his girlfriend's house, took her belongings, and assaulted the 18-year-old girl as a 6'7", 220-pound man.
Man, L, bro, that's an L, bro. L on domestic violence, bro. Yeah, bro. Ain't no man hit a lady, bro. I'm sorry. I mean, you gotta just learn how to walk away, cause especially if you were a up and coming basketball star, man, who's trying to go to the NBA, make some money, you can't be doing this, bro. That's when you have to have the right people around you, bro. Got to. Niggas are gonna tell you, hey, bro, you shouldn't be doing that, bro. You got a whole career that you got to look forward to, man. You're not finna throw that all away because of you were just angry at one moment, bro. It wasn't even worth it.
With clear as day video evidence, Farmer would quickly realize that actions have consequences. And after striking an innocent girl, the gavel would strike, giving Farmer 3 years in prison for assault, kidnapping, and robbery. In a weird twist of fate, his dream of fame would actually become a reality, as after listening to his sentence, he would become one of the most infamous memes of all time.
Orders that the finished a survey term of 2 years on that house as well.
Oh, that's where that meme came from. I didn't know that, bruh. That's crazy.
Now, clowned on for an eternity, Farmer would serve nearly the entirety of his 3-year sentence. And now with a heinous charge and a prison term on his record, there wasn't exactly a market for schools looking to add a felon to their roster. Reaching out to every school that once showed him interest, to no one's surprise, there wasn't a coach that was willing to give a chance to a guy like this once their true colors were exposed. Farmer would be forced to go to junior college to further his basketball career, just 3 years after being one of the top prospects that the country had to offer. After playing at a level far below his talent level for 2 years, putting up 17, 9, and 3 his sophomore year, Farmer would throw his hat in the ring declaring for the 2017 NBA draft. But as a felon in JUCO, this was nothing but a waste of time. Farmer's NBA dream was officially done. Despite putting up a league-leading 23 a game overseas to this date, Tony Farmer's disgusting actions got in the way of his dream. and he deserved every bit of his punishment. Don't agree? Well, after being publicly exposed for his actions, fainting in courts, becoming a viral meme, watching his basketball dreams fade in front of his very eyes, and spending 3 years in prison, Tony Farmer would be once again caught on camera dragging his crying girlfriend by the throat into his house during an altercation. Farmer's decline was entirely his fault, and due to his actions, he's lucky he even has a career overseas, as I'm sure the NBA wouldn't touch this guy with a 10-foot stick, and probably only about a 3-foot stick to keep away the 3-foot-tall Julian Newman. Julian Newman emerged on the scene as the youngest varsity basketball player in the country. At just 11 years old and standing a crazy 4'5", weighing 70 pounds, Newman was about 3.
Look how small this nigga is, bro.
Julian Newman emerged on the scene as the youngest varsity basketball player in the country. At just 11 years old and standing a...
Damn, boy. That was a fucking kid. Literally, he is a kid, but... Damn, bro.
Crazy 4'5", weighing 70 pounds. Newman was about 3 years younger and 100 pounds lighter than the next smallest guy on the courts, putting up a pretty impressive 12 points a game with 11 assists and 4 steals. The whole world fell in love with the kid, making appearances on Conan, Good Morning America, and the Ellen DeGeneres Show. Julian Newman was everywhere and only kept going up. Doing more of a press tour than a celebrity promoting their next movie or show, Julian Newman's popularity skyrocketed to a crazy extent, and his super quick and over-the-top handles mixed with his unreal confidence and tough shot making made this guy the most popular basketball player on the internet. 5 million views every game he played, 8 million views against LaMelo Ball, and 13 million views against Kyrie Walker. It seemed like everything this kid did was on the front page of YouTube, but slowly over time, the kid that the world seemed to love completely flipped his reputation upside down.
Oh yeah, I remember this game, boy. I reacted to this mode. Well, not on YouTube, but in real life.
Julian's got no sportsmanship, no team play. Imagine being 16 years old and picking on a 7th grader. Someone tell 404 that this is a sports game, not a street fight. Julian Newman had grown up in the spotlight, and grown from being a confident young kid to being thought of as a cocky young prick. Despite clearly working very hard at his game for years and years, Julian Newman's game would also heavily plateau, as there's only so many dribble moves you can spam before actually getting anywhere, and there's only so many bad shots you can pull before the world gets sick of you. The gig was up. Despite putting up over 30 a game in high school, the world caught on to the reality that was going on. Newman was playing in a small private school against terrible competition, with his dad coaching giving him free reign to do whatever he pleased with the basketball. Newman's game, although flashy and great for the internet, was only good for that. Dribbling to nowhere and throwing up deep bombs really made him an inefficient, turnover-prone chucker. Despite being more skilled than 99% of players you'll see, Newman was limited by 3 main factors that completely negated his chance of fulfilling his NBA dream: his puny size and his terrible attitude, all while playing the game like an absolute moron. At 5'6", as the most hated player in high school basketball, the Newmans recognized that Julian's chances in the NBA were non-existent, as not even a college team was willing to give a chance.
That goes to show you, bro. They always say, it's a cliche, 80% mental, 20% physical. All that dribbling and shit, bro, it's okay. It look good. Okay. But you got to know the game, bro. All that, you can't do that in NBA or in college. It's a wrap. And then you already short in stature. I mean, like, you just like, and then you have a bad attitude. Yeah, bro. Your career was done before you even got the, it's just crazy, bro. It is what it is. When I watched his highlights when he was younger, all that dribbling and shit, bro, I did not like him. I feel like he was one of the niggas that just didn't pass the ball.
Views as
just want to look cute.
With no hopes in the league, the Newmans began exploring other avenues to capitalize off of basketball. And this is where the mastermind behind the Newman media machine would come to light. The father of Julian Newman would launch a family clothing line along with their very own reality show centric on a loudmouth dad and a basketball family selling overpriced, low-quality merchandise. If you didn't think the Ball in the Family show could get any worse, let me tell you firsthand that, yeah, it does. Watching Jamie Newman say anything for relevance, while Julian Newman plays like a grade A dickhead and fights his teammates, was a sad ending for the kid who once shined for just playing the game he loved. Really, in a better world, maybe Newman would have faded into irrelevance after his 30 seconds of fame, which seems to be the story for Chase Adams after his 7th grade mixtape changed his life forever. Standing at just 4'11", Chase Adams' 7th grade season was the one that put his name in the history books. garnering 16 million views, slotting him in as the second most viewed mixtape on the internet. Despite being the size of a 4th grader, Adams was not only among
Hold on. Alright.
kids double his size, but absolutely dominating them. Watching a kid who looks no older than 10 dominating 8th graders in Chicago, who probably equals seniors in most other cities, was what made this tape one of a kind. And holy hell did this kid have a bag. With playmaking skills and court awareness up the wahoo,
That's the type
a
of
crazy quick
basketball I
handle,
like.
never dribbling the ball more than 6 inches off the ground, unreal ball control,
how to
and
pass
no
the
fear
ball.
attacking the
IQ.
basket when he knows he'll end up on his ass. The kid clearly had a chip on his shoulder from the second he picked up a basketball. And frankly, given his age and physical frame, he really was close to his 7th grade ceiling, as strange as that sounds to say. After instantly blowing up into a ball-his-life legend, Chase Adams' life was flipped upside down. Packed gyms, kids asking for pictures and autographs. This dude was the popular kid in class, to put it simply, and was basically living the life of an internet celebrity. Going into high school at a smidge over 5 feet tall, Adams was already starting varsity in the heart of Chicago as a freshman. Garnering attention from Division I schools already, Chase Adams may have just seemed like a mixtape guy, but from hard work and, unlike Julian Newman, actually applying that hard work with a winning play style, Chase Adams was on track to live out his basketball dreams. But sadly, this is where we would see a major fork in the road. Partway through his sophomore year, Adams' older brother, and who he calls his father figure, would pass away in his sleep due to a seizure. With the loss of his brother, best friend, and mentor, Chase would see his play steeply decline, as it's clear his motivation and mental state were severely hindered for the remainder of his sophomore year and into his junior season. But on the pursuit of a fresh start at Orr Academy, instead of letting his misfortune bury him further, it's clear he decided to turn his ship around, averaging 13, 5, and 3 with 2 steals a game to lead his team to a 30-4 state championship run. Was the storybook finish to a high school career, which could have very well been the end of his run altogether. The comeback finish was not only a happy ending to his high school days, but also displayed enough to lock him a Division I scholarship in Portland. And after 2 years there, finished his collegiate career putting up 9 a game for Jackson State. After 4 years of Division I basketball, it's safe to say that the dream of lacing up in the NBA is not going to be a reality for Adams, and really, it was never going to be. It's easy to look at the heights he was able to hit so early in his life, and look at his results as nothing but a failure. But really, it should be anything but. Chase Adams was really just like any other kid growing up in a dangerous part of Chicago, and instead of complaining about his biggest disadvantage, did the work necessary to reach the highest level of collegiate basketball. Never let the notoriety get to his head, inspired millions of undersized players, and left behind one sick-ass mixtape in the process. If you're nostalgic about the prime of the hoop mixtape days as well, you probably remember the man who just may have been the king of the era, 7th Woods. After being completely off the public's radar until his freshman year of high school, 7th's life completely changed overnight, dropping what stands today as the most viewed mixtape to ever touch the internet. 7th Woods woke up as the best freshman in the country. At 16.7 million views, it's no wonder why the world was in awe at this kid, because this could have very well been the best tape to ever grace the internet. With a buttery handle on the ball, blocks with his head at the rim, and the craziest dunk package in high school at 14 years old, I mean, with this dude's talent level at this age, unlike Chase Adams, there wasn't a ceiling to this kid's game. And there wasn't, and probably still isn't, a guard with the raw athleticism and smooth skill set this young. Due to a 2-minute and 35-second internet video, 7th Woods was essentially now a celebrity. Packed gyms everywhere he went, pictures, autographs, and scouts from every school in the country. Overnight, it really seemed like one videographer had just made this kid's dreams come true. The world had their eyes on 7th, and going into his sophomore year, he gave them exactly what they asked for. 20 a game with 4 steals, more viral posters, and big-time moments like a 40-piece on future NBA player Dennis Smith Jr. Woods had a very attractive skill set for a player with a polished offensive base. Unreal.
Damn.
Woods had a very attractive skill set for a player with a
shit. See, when you get dunked on like that, bro, and you fall with it, that's what makes it so much worse. I ain't gonna fake it, bro. This dunk was nasty.
NBA player Dennis Smith Jr. Woods had a very attractive skill set for a player with a polished offensive base, unreal defensive instincts at 4 rips a game, which could have honestly been the best part of his game, and a clear upward trajectory that no one was getting in the way of. But this was really the last that we'd know of 7th Woods as a star in the making. The disappearance of 7th Woods wasn't overnight, There wasn't an exact instance to point to. 7th Woods slowly cooled off in his junior and senior seasons, and although he put up 16 and 17 game respectfully, his game really hadn't developed in any way, and the crowd just caught up to his game that seemed to peak too early. As the 7th Woods buzz fizzled out in a major way, still standing at 6'1" and looking like his freshman self, 7th Woods fell to 59th spot in the class, but off of the attention that he garnered earlier in his high school career, 7th still had the freedom to play for a school that your typical 59 guy wouldn't have. Going into the Tar Heels should really be a moment to look back at and appreciate the work you put in to earn a spot at a top 3 program in the country. But in the 7th Woods story, this was really the start of the end. Growing up with more fame and notoriety than most top recruits, 7th was in a bit over his head committing to a powerhouse. Backing up system point guard Joel Berry, 7th Woods' playing time was very hard to come by, and with the short leash he was on, being unable to be aggressive in fear of making a mistake completely killed his confidence and destroyed his production in the process. At 1.5 points on atrocious shooting, as the guy who was just a few years ago supposed to be the best freshman in the world, what the hell happened to 7th Woods? Well, in his words, the pressure was just too much for him. I thought I had to be perfect, I really did. If I got a turnover, all I could think was that people were going to think I wasn't that good. I really questioned every mistake. In hindsight, I was trying to live up to people's expectations, and I couldn't shake that. Focusing around the perception of his game more so than perfecting his game could very well have played a hand in the lack of improvement that we saw throughout his junior and senior years, and most definitely played a hand in his selection to attend one of the nation's top universities when in retrospect he had no business being there. 7th Woods overstayed his welcome at UNC, who had no problem letting him rot away on the bench, averaging under 2 points a game on under 35% shooting in his wasted 3 years there. 7th eventually hit the transfer portal, where downsizing schools really did little to help his game after not making any major improvements in 5 years. Averaging 5 a game for South Carolina and Morgan State, 7th Woods would end his collegiate career as one of the most underwhelming of the mixtape era. With a game that really peaked early as the attention rolled in, it was really too much to handle for a high school kid who just wanted to play like he had his whole life, until one video gave him more than he could handle. And as his game plateaued, failing to have any specialty on the floor made his game pretty ineffective outside of bounce that didn't really get him too far with the handles of a freshman. It's sad to see the way that his career fizzled out due to the impact he had online. But if we're talking about impact, there was really no one bigger than Jelly fam Isaiah Washington. The wave that caught the whole world by storm. A group of NYC kids who just wanted to turn a traditionally boring move into a highlight reel fillet had everyone and their mom screaming Jelly while they laid up the butteriest finger roll imaginable. Jelly fam was a group of nationally ranked high schoolers that had a little more sauce on their layups than everyone. Whether it was cocking it back and laying it up with a little extra touch or switching hands midair, the Jelly fam mob that had everyone changing their Instagram handle, and no one had more sauce than the man himself, Isaiah Washington. With a silky smooth game, the nicest layup package I've ever seen, and the biggest name of everyone in Jelly fam, Isaiah Washington had the whole city of New York yelling his name. As the 68th ranking in the class of 2017, Washington had some pretty decent offers from schools like Minnesota, DePaul, A&M, and Rutgers. And with how big he was getting towards the end of his senior season, it really seemed like one of these schools was going to be receiving one hell of a talent. And after committing to the Minnesota Gophers, Jelly fam, in his words, was ready to put Minnesota on the map. But the second he suited up in the maroon and gold, I think the world really got a reality check. To say that Jelly was untalented would obviously be extremely incorrect, as the finishing ability and ball handling skill was top-notch. But what was holding him back was basically everything else. You can practice your skills as much as you want, and you might end up pretty damn good, but there's always going to be a ceiling for how high you can play if you don't have the basketball IQ to put it to use. And in this case, Isaiah Washington's ceiling was at the collegiate level. As a guy who didn't have a knack for passing the ball, didn't have any off-ball skills like a consistent catch-and-shoot game, didn't work well running off screens, and didn't cut too quickly either, Washington's offensive role was basically to create shots for himself and get buckets on the floor. As a textbook sixth man type of role, the Gophers gave him 20 a night to make the most of it and gave him the shots to prove himself with scoring 8 a game on 36% from the field when your sole role is to get buckets and you're too small to really be a quality defender. Basically meant that not only was Jelly not going to be putting Minnesota on the map, but Jelly wasn't even playable. It may have been fun to watch the viral layup machine pop off the bench once in a while and hit
I ain't
a
never heard him
jelly
till
finger
this
roll,
time, so.
but watching him take some
gonna lie to
atrocious
you.
shots in the meantime while getting babied defensively made it a pretty easy goodbye for Minnesotans. Transferring to Iona the following season, Washington would make moderate improvements before transferring to Long Beach State and having by far the best year of his college career at 14 a game on 43% shooting from the field and 30% from deep. Although putting up pretty decentish numbers for about a year and a half, it's safe to say that with the hype he was receiving in high school, his college career did wind up a major disappointment. Although talented and extremely skilled, when not putting them to good use, you really could turn your ability into a hindrance on your team. And that's why when evaluating talent, you need to look a bit deeper than just a highlight reel. But even when we do, it still seems like guys like Kyrie Walker can still fool us all. For as long as I can remember, Kyrie Walker was the #1 player in the 2020 class, and it wasn't even close. The 6'4" man-child of an 8th grader could do it all, from shift defenders, absolutely body defenders, finish with touch around the rim or slam one home, then dance on the perimeter and hit a pull-up the next possession. The #1 player in the class was truly one step ahead of the competition. This looked like a grown man playing against a load of boys, and that just might be because it kinda was. As a 16-year-old 8th grader, Kyrie Walker may have been the best in the class.
16-year-old 8th grader. Where my button at? 16-year-old 8th grader, bruh?
Really, nigga?
That's crazy.
Of 2020, but in what was Walker's biggest strength on the court was also a completely unfair advantage. Holding a child back for athletic reasons is actually a very common trend for top prospects, and in Kyrie's favor, he was lucky enough to get this privilege twice. Being 2 years older than his competition sure as hell played to his advantage, garnering loads of mainstream attention through his middle school years. And as he got into high school, the trend of dominance continued, putting up 25, 9, and 8 as a sophomore, with an improvement to 30, 11, and 6 as a junior. As an upward trending star at the top of his class, what could the problem be? Well, despite the statistical dominance, the world began catching on to the facade that was Kyrie Walker. He wasn't a top player coming out of high school. He was a top player when he was in 8th grade because he was bigger than everyone he played. I think of the Billy Madison movie when I hear Kyrie's name. Dude's been in high school for a decade. Kyrie Walker, after hitting his early growth spurt, hit a hard ceiling that required him to bounce around the country to bigger roles to artificially inflate his stats and his ranking in the process. Despite his efforts, the best 8th grader in the country by a landslide was effectively free-falling off of the draft boards and out of the top 100 in the 2020 high school class. To make a poor situation worse, Walker let the negative attention and ridicule get to him by making a poor decision in terms of how to develop his talents to where he needed to reach. As a former Arizona commit, Walker would make the decision to decommit and skip on collegiate basketball altogether. But not only that, in an attempt to burn his reputation as just an old guy dominating high school kids, Walker would skip his senior season to work out in preparation for the NBA draft.
Deep inside, I had to figure out what I was gonna be. Was I gonna be a high school legend? Which I don't want to. Like, yeah, it's cool. Yeah, I don't want to be that.
You don't want to peak in high school.
I don't want to be that. I want to be a high school legend. Like, I want to be like, oh yeah, he used to be tough in high school.
Tough in high school, yeah.
As he had already fallen out of the top high school rankings and fallen out of the media headlines as well, disappearing from high school effectively made Kyrie Walker a nobody. After being the most famous middle school basketball player in the world, Walker very silently declared for the 2021 NBA draft in which his name would not be called. Frankly, in 2021, Kyrie Walker was completely irrelevant. Taking his talents to the G League, Kyrie Walker would emerge onto the basketball scene after years of silence to prove that his time in the gym had paid off, and really had one last shot to show that his time in the spotlight was no gimmick, and earn back the recognition that I'm sure he believes he deserves. But alas, with the mediocre 8.7 points per game coming off of the bench, Kyrie Walker wasn't lighting the world on fire at all. As a scoring talent, Walker looked solid, but what really buried his chances was after years of nothing but NBA preparation, Walker looked out of shape and unable to stay in front of minor league basketball players defensively. Walker, after a rather unsuccessful year, would leave for the Canadian Basketball League, before being signed and waived from the G League the following year. And just like that, it's safe to say that Kyrie Walker's NBA dreams are officially over. Walker's decisions navigating his career really made his slim chances of making the NBA, given his plateauing talents, a splat finish-up disaster, which is unlike the story of Marcus Levette, which you may not realize has surprisingly had a positive ending. Levette was just another one of the mixtape legends who cemented himself in Ball's life history. But this guy sure as hell did it his own way. Levette had one of the most unorthodox games I've ever seen. As a lightning-quick twig, Levette's whole game revolved around being able to create an inch of space and pulling up whenever possible. And if you try to double on the pick and roll, around being able to create an inch of space and pulling up whenever possible. And if you try to double on the pick and roll, Levette was an ultra creative facilitator who really managed to win no matter what. Levette was the ultimate mix of skill, speed, and IQ in a 6-foot, 160-pound package. As an undersized point who had a clear defensive ceiling that's at my kneecap, this player archetype is perfect for the mixtape where effectiveness doesn't really matter, and terrible for on-court production similar to Julian Newman. But unlike Julian Newman, Marcus Levette was one hell of a player. As a guy who could play in the screen and roll like a wizard that at any time could score the ball himself, or find a teammate rolling or on the wing in the time it takes you to blank. Levette himself or find a teammate rolling or on the wing in the time it takes you to blank. Levette's extremely high level of offensive play didn't just crush the highlight reel. This kid was one of the best of the Ball's life era. At 32, 5, and 3 with 3 steals a game as a freshman, Marcus Levette was the real deal. And coming back his sophomore season, he somehow got even better. At 34, 4, and 2, Levette had nowhere to go but up. While completely dominating at the high school level in front of packed gyms waiting for his next move. As you can imagine, at like 15 years old, getting so good at your craft that you're essentially one of the first famous high school athletes is pretty tough on the ego. And to better his future, Levette made a surprising move to transfer mid-season, but likely not the move that you may think. Levette bounced from Providence to better his education, in a move that actually may have worsened his basketball future. Levette would see a decline to 23, 3, and 4, but as a state champion, he clearly brought his winning mindset with him. Levette would transfer once again as a last-chance hoist to garner as much collegiate attention as possible to play for Chicago's powerhouse Morgan Park High School. The state of Illinois was essentially in his hands at this point, as no one else could even dream of a chip, while Chi-Town clearly had a new kid. Taking his talents to St. John's, Levette, after some academic transfer issues, would sit out for his freshman season, and even after the high school hype had completely died down, Marcus Levette was still the real deal. 16, 3, and 4 on 46 and 38 shooting splits, Levette may not have had the fame that he had in high school, but ironically, being top 10 in the conference in scoring as a freshman at 6 feet tall was far more impressive than a stupid video on the internet. Levette would maintain his production throughout his sophomore season, before sadly his collegiate career would come to a forced conclusion from a left knee injury. And as a 6-foot guard, his NBA future really was non-existent. This may seem like a sad end of the road for a guy who had the world in his hands, but in reality, the NBA was never on this guy's roadmap. Going overseas to extend his career, well, Levette is still a walking bucket, putting 20 a game in Serbia, to bounce to Portugal to put up 22 a game. As we speak, Marcus Levette is still playing at a very high level, putting up extremely good stats in the meantime while traveling the world doing what he loves. As a 6-foot guard,
that's what's up, though, man. You gotta get it while you get in, bro.
But as a guy who always valued his future as well as his presence, Levette was able to handle high school fame much better than his predecessors we've covered here today. As we've learned, momentary success isn't everything, and really in the grand scheme of things kind of means very little. But when you do the right thing night in and night out, whether it be in the classroom, on the courts, in the workplace, or just interacting with the people you see every day, things are bound to work out for you. And no matter how blessed you were at birth, if you frequently slip up, take positions for granted, and stand higher than you are, no matter where you start, the world has a funny way of correcting itself. Thank you for watching if you made it this far, and I'll see you boys in the next one.
Really made it this far. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Man, happens like if you don't stay focused, bro, you worried about the wrong things, bro. You just enjoying the fame, bro. If you got a goal in life, bro, that shit, put that shit on the back burner, bro. Work on your game, work on your passion, bro. For real. You don't want to end up like just being like what am I doing this for? Man, shout out to all the players, bro. Hopefully y'all get back to y'all grind and just reach y'all goals in life, bro. Sometimes life may kick you, but you got to keep on getting up, bro. All you need is that one shot. You might make a mistake when you was young. Hey, fuck that. Hey, go past that. Keep grinding. You gonna reach your goal. Yes, sir, man. I appreciate y'all for watching this video, man. Make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe. Comment down below what you want me to react to next, and I'm see y'all next time. Let's get it.